We make human resource software, and it's been a challenge in all three environments in different ways to hold on to that energy and that verve for something that I believe in at the core of my being. I love accessibility as a concept. I love working with other accessibility professionals. I love seeing the things we can do together. I get very tired and very, very burnt out by things that don't work out so well. So that's who I am, and that's why I'm here.
Well, excellent. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
And I'll pass it over to you.
Sure.
We'll come online in a second.
I'm Miranda Capra. I work for Truist Financial, so a big bank in the Southeast with about 2,000 branches. And we have I own our company accessibility policies for both digital and physical for accommodations. But on the digital side, we have like 6 of us supporting like 40 agile teams and about 30 different websites and applications. And so it's very small, and the burnout is real because I've been doing this only for about 8 years full time. But it's just, there's just so much to be done, and there's always another project and another team that needs help and another person knocking on our door. So yeah, I would be interested in maybe in even just brainstorming techniques that folks have, and maybe we've all learned a little something that can help each other.
Right. Oh, and online?
Can you hear me?
Hello, is anyone online?
There's someone who said, can you hear me? They were very quiet.
Oh, no, can't. We're working on it. Oops, I better stand here. Doesn't look like an empty room. For those of you online, we're just having a few tech problems, and we're figuring it out.
We can have our new person in the room introduced.
Yes. Hi.
Hi. Yeah.
Oh,
So do we still need a room? But I'm also willing to participate in the session. So we have some online. that you can use.
yeah. We're just trying to get the sound working for the online attendees. Amy, are you able to fill in this paper form, or would you like me to just add your name?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be brilliant. I can, but it's effort. It's-
Conference. Mason,
Yeah.
UKG.
Yeah. And if they don't have my email address by now, they never will. So.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay.
I don't think that Lori's gonna be able to introduce herself. I can read what she wrote. My name is Lori Jones. I was a front-end developer for about 15 years, but switched to accessibility over 10 years ago. I currently work for DocuSign.
DocuSign. Oh, amazing. I've got this one on. And did you want to introduce yourself?
So my name is Kara, and I'm a new grad UX designer, and I can just step forward into the accessibility field, and I hope to dive deeper in this session and figure out everyone's thoughts.
Great.
Welcome.
Oh,
This is for Elizabeth Thomas. She's in the New Jersey Department of Education. She does all things digital accessibility, but mostly PDF remeditation. Then there's Hillary. Hillary is with the UT Health Houston, with UT Health Houston. She researches, oh my goodness, she uses research to develop content for teachers, administrators, and families.
Okay. Do you think we're going to get their audio going so they can share? It's hard to participate through text or only. Okay, so the topic is before you get to burnout, what are some strategies that you can use, and is this a common experience? I think that's a really important theme of all of this. So just some thoughts on how you want to structure this little bit of unconference. Any thoughts? Sometimes what I do is let's talk about the current situation, get it all out there. What are some of the challenges that you've got? And then really start brainstorming on, what some actions that we can take. But I'm happy to adjust however you want to get this started.
That feels like a good way to come.
Oops, yeah.
This is Amy. That feels like a good way to begin to me.
So in your current situation, whoops. In your current situation, oh, we got to go. Yeah. Would you say that you are thriving?
I would say that in my current situation, I am on the rebound from, to be very honest, flat out depression.
Okay. Yeah.
And anxiety that came from both work and non-work stressors.
Mhm.
We won't go too much into the work stressors or the personal, except to say that I had a loss, I had a surgery. There were some big changes in the organizational structure of our organization, and all of that left me flat. Not really sure even who I should be turning to for tasks. And I guess that for me, even as much as how to prevent burnout right now, how to heal from burnout is an appropriate conversation starter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm better than I was, but nowhere near where I want to be.
Yes, and even saying the word burnout, I read somewhere that if you're thinking maybe you're burnt out, you're way long past burnt out. And healing takes time. Anybody else would like to share just on the topic of you're currently where you're at? Anyone online? Okay. No comment. Okay, they're all muted. Would you like to? Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to speak, I have 6 people that report to me.
Yeah.
So there's kind of what's going on with me and what's going on with some of my folks. And I should just talk about it all for me because anyway, so things that I see are, we get asked for help from so many different people.
Mhm.
And everyone on the one, we get asked to be involved and participate in so many projects, but then accessibility is frequently on the side and it's not a focus. And so people they don't have their staff and their time and their resources. And so even though a lot of the people that want to be allies with us will still ask us to do it for them. Or that they're willing to do it, but we have to lead the project. We have to project management. We have to set up all the meetings. We have to keep them moving forward. And so they don't have their own push. And we end up pulled in so many different directions that you just get tired. And I don't know if we're just talking problems, if we were talking solution, but one of my solutions is also one of my problems. Is that what can help with the burnout is when you can like finish a project and like look at it and say, oh yeah, we did that. Which is hard when you're working on so many long-term projects that you're just working on year after year, and they seem like they don't make progress. So one of the things that I was thinking of is trying to enforce myself to try to work on fewer projects at a time, but also give myself permission to work on smaller projects so that I have smaller milestones and I can have a success of checking something off. And trying not to look at the 3-year or 5-year project as what I'm going for, but pick something that I can do in 3 months or 6 months so that I can say, okay, I finished this milestone.
Yep, Amy?
Here. Lori?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Oh, yes, welcome, Lori, yay.
Well, I was just going to say what I found is leading to even more burnout is the, what's going on in the current administration with all, the breaking down the DEIA efforts and, blocking those efforts. And I found that that is contributing to, the overall burnout for me. It just feels it's just like another layer on, just existing, you just get burnout doing this work. So I just wanted to mention that as something that I've really struggled with. And I after Eve Hill's session on the legal update, I do feel better because I think, she framed it as we are resisting, doing our jobs is resisting. And so that felt good. But I do think that the political climate makes it really hard or harder.
Can I ask a follow-up question for you on that? So there's the external politics. How are the internal politics changing as a result of the external in your organization?
Yeah, well, so my organization has we've had all hands meetings with the CEO about the political climate and the threats of investigations and if you're doing anything related to DEI. And they've fully committed again to diversity, equity, inclusion. But I think they do feel fear like they have to, change some of the ways that they talk about it. But after there's been some global town halls where they've talked about it. And I do feel like the company, my company, DocuSign, is very committed, but they're that I think they're scared too, like what could happen. um so yeah, but it does feel really good that they did recommit to DEI. It's kind of like a wait and see what what further things might happen though.
Yeah, and you know, from my personal experience and just listening to people all the years that I've been working and through the conference, the way to advance accessibility is to, hi, Peter, is to talk about it. And so my background is I'm Canadian, I'm from Canada. So our political climate is different. We are holding hands with you across the border and hoping for the best.
We
But
appreciate
it's
that.
the silencing, I think, you know, adding the silencing and not being able to talk about and celebrate and advance the work in accessibility just compounds on the demands of the job itself. Amy, you wanted to?
I was just saying we appreciate that. Should we let Peter introduce himself?
Yes. Let me bring you the mic.
Do you want me to do that? Or, oh, yes.
Hi, Peter Slayton, here from New York City, and we reach hands across every border. So I work not in digital accessibility, but in social accessibility and how people interact with each other, which I think is fundamental to creating any kind of accessibility, including digital and physical. And I find that a lot of the conversations I hear at this conference are one of the primary barriers is that people beyond this conference, beyond this community, I should say, still don't understand disability and the need for accessibility, still are afraid of disability and afraid of their own ignorance about it. And more education in that area would help unlock a lot of the challenges. I'm not saying that that's an easy solution, just it's one way forward, and it's often just taken for granted, and then people find themselves here and go, why can't I get what I need done? So we'll leave it there.
Online, anybody else? Our tech person just left the room, so I'm not sure if anybody's trying to say something.
I'm on the chat. I can get back.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Way in the back.
Yeah, we're a pretty small crowd.
Yeah. So just to share some of my story about overwhelmedness and you know, the idea of burnout. I've been working in accessibility for about 40 years, and my last position was head of accessibility at Scotiabank, where we led the digital accessibility program. I think a product equity team, IT accommodation folk, and a regulatory program. So about 26 people on the team doing accessibility. And I want to commiserate and talk to Miranda about this as well, that it's not just yourself, it's your staff and the people that report to you and your allies that you need to think about and support in this journey of staying engaged and excited about accessibility. So, you know, there's multiple layers of that experience. And if the organization supports accessibility through strategic programs, then it gets easier to do your job. If you have leadership support, it's easier to do your job. And if you start running into, well, we have to cut your budget this year, or we might not be able to replace that person that left, those all require a resetting of expectations and of yourself, your team, and the program itself. So that's a little bit of, you know, how I've seen it. I've retired. I left the position about a year ago, and I'm well on my way of my healing journey, and this community is a part of that. Anyone online? So we talk about indifference. That's one of the questions, isn't it? One of the comments in the topic. How does indifference affect you, and what and in what context?
The indifference, I guess for me, partially because I am a blind or low vision person, the indifference maybe cuts differently than it does for others because it feels sort of like, it feels sometimes like a personal slap.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like someone saying, you don't matter. Your needs don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that may be part of what makes it so hard to face indifference with equanimity, is just that to me, someone saying that, oh, this issue is not that bad, we'll get to it eventually, particularly when I know the kind of folks that are going to be tripped up by it, feels like I'm being told, you don't matter, people like you don't matter, sit down and be quiet, and if you're very nice, maybe we will throw you an accessibility bone later as a treat.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do about that,
Mhm.
but that's certainly the where I feel and where I kind of am standing with it.
Anyone else? I can't see if there's anybody online. I'm sorry, everyone.
Keeping an eye on the
Yeah.
chat, and I have not seen anything come.
Okay, yeah. So there's that question that the work that we do has a very personal impact. And I know what I've heard, in work environments is, don't take it personally. So how does, that seems to be the strategy. And when this work is your life's work and your passion, then how do you separate the personal from the private and the public?
And that's one way where the job can be different than the more social community aspect,
Mhm.
where I do know that the people that I'm working with, they have a lot of conflicting priorities, and as a bank, a lot of conflicting regulations. And so I know that they all care, and I try to remind myself that that they can do a little bit, but they probably can't do as much as I wish they would.
Mhm.
And so what I try to find a small thing that they can do to just get a little bit better each year, but also Amy, I hear what you were saying about it sounding so personal, so I may have an easier time of it because it doesn't affect me that way. But knowing that it's a job, and that they have a lot of people asking them for a lot of things. And it's possibly that other people are yelling at them more and I'm too nice. Or it's not that they don't feel for me, they just don't have the time either.
Mhm.
And I don't know how much that helps.
I think there's also an element of, if you think about the much maligned DEI, and how accessibility and disability were really what I call them the poor stepchild of that movement.
Mhm.
And so we found ourselves kind of at the back of the line going, wait, what about us? And that's been true for, decades, of course. So finding a way to say, first of all, making the point that while we can be considered in that light, disability really and accessibility is, again, to use much used word, intersectional, truly intersectional, everywhere, and for everyone. But it's still something that people just don't want to know about until it affects them personally. And just as difficult as those who ignore it completely are those who say, we know it's really important. We're so pleased that you're talking about it. Thank you very much. Now go away. Which is more common in recent years than it was a while back, but it still indicates that the issue has moved forward in the public eye, but it's still not, it's just not top of mind or even back of mind for people who don't have that personal need. But, and it, and the strategies, are there strategies to combat that? It's sometimes to talk about aging and say, the only thing people fear more than disability is aging, and the two go together, and then people get even more scared, but you can then say it beats the alternative. And saying it's just part of life is, I find, sometimes actually effective, because it lets people step back from the brink of fear and superstition, or whatever you want to call it, to recognize that it's part of humanity. Sometimes.
And I've got a comment from an online. So we've got a comment from Hillary Cullen. I just don't know what else to do to get buy-in from leadership. We pride ourselves on improving outcomes for all children, but it feels like we're leaving the caregivers in the dust.
Yes. Yeah, and what cultivates a sense of accomplishment. Something that you said, Miranda, really struck me. And like, I wonder if this isn't, part of the symptoms that are leading to burnout, or the reasons for it, is that sense of progress. You're never done. You're never, ever done. You can't like draw the picture and stick it up on your fridge. It's not done. And so, how might that, any thoughts on how to manage that, the sense of never being done? And I think, and being finished with something brings a sense of accomplishment and achievement. Thoughts on how you might be able to do that in this job that we have?
I know this is super simplistic, but each of these 6-month, 9-month, 3-year, 5-year projects have miniature goals within them.
Mm-hmm.
Can we make those goals in and of themselves a milestone to be celebrated?
Mm-hmm.
Can we find ways to make even that one day's work something that we're like, hey, look, we've changed this thing and now it works, or that 2-week project or whatever. ADHD means that for me, instant gratification or very quick gratification is the only way that I get the real buzz of joy from what I've been working on. So I have to have very small goals sometimes so that I can just be like, huzzah, I have taken out the trash. This is a worthwhile and winning strategy for me today.
Yeah.
I did something that made the house that much better. It may be tiny,
Mm-hmm.
but it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of the things that our team did, someone on the team suggested it, and it was a great idea, fantastic. And it was that little bit of positive adrenaline. It's very easy to come into a team meeting and say, that team didn't listen. That one said that they were going to, and they haven't done it. This leader over here doesn't want to do anything. And you need that support in a team. But if you focus on it, then that becomes all you think about is the failures. And so every week at our team meeting, we would have 5 awesome things. And it was initially the people on the team would say, well, this thing happened, but it's not that great. But the rest of the team would like, wow, you changed that person's mind? Congratulations. And there became a little bit of a swell of, we are achieving something. And we kept a running record of these 5 awesome things every week. And it builds this body of accomplishment. It's not enough, but it really helped just to feel that. And then in the team, we'd congratulate each other on that awesome thing that they'd done. Because sometimes, as you say, you're spread so wide, you're doing so many things that the whole team doesn't know what you've done or what you've achieved. And it might also spark ideas for another person who was getting that indifference or that roadblock to say, I'm going to try that. So that was one little strategy that actually, I think it helped us through some pretty tough times.
Sounds like an excellent strategy. It reminds me of the email folder I always forget about that I have at work that I call joys. And that'll be where someone thanked me or someone told me about something that changed. And, literally joys. Any good message. Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever used this app or if it's accessible, but it's called Habatica. It's like a role-playing game to-do list, and it does make a nice little sound when you say you did something or one of your dailies and you check marked it. And I really wish like Jira or like one of the ones that they force you to use at work. Like if I moved a task to done, I wish it just made like a ding or like something nice sounding or like, I don't know, just like a small default change to like bring joy because it's such an ugly UI. But yeah, something small. Yeah, breaking tasks down definitely helps, like getting things done. Oh, really cool. I'm so happy to hear that. Oh, great. Yeah, I've only used the app really, so cool.
Anyone online have some thoughts around progress? The fact that you're never done when it comes to accessibility.
I have not seen any more go by.
Yeah.
No, I think actually just the idea of something small and small progress, I think accessibility for people who don't want to think about it or know about it or just are intimidated by it, by what they don't know about it, accomplishing something small and measurable is really helpful. In the work I do, the simplest thing is I sometimes feel like if I could just go in and deliver the one sentence that people who don't know what to do when they meet someone with a disability and want to help, and so many people forget that all they have to do is ask, "Can I help you? Would you like some help?" And then listen to what is said, and that's really simple. And I feel like that if that could be somehow applied to digital accessibility, which is really all about how do I get to the next step, one step at a time. You're not going to learn it all by sitting down for a minute or an hour or a day or a week, but learning one piece at a time is helpful. And if you can show someone one part of it, that's how they might begin to grasp how important it is.
Mhm. Yeah, and so that sense of accomplishment for the person doing it might be small. And perhaps, is there a way for us for taking some credit for the fact that they've done something small too?
Let them feel like
Right. Give them, yeah. So progress and never being done also is really connected to a word I'm working hard on. It's a super difficult word with 2 letters. It starts with an N and ends with an O. So when the flood of work comes in, when it comes in, we're going live next week. Can you just do that test so that we can promote our code? When they come and say, I know we know how to do this, but we're really tight on our deadlines. Could you just test that page for us? What does it feel like to say no? And does it?
Yeah, I think it's scary.
Scary. And in the context of accessibility, where we know we're always trying to convince somebody, there's an implication for saying no. It might be that they won't come back. The team won't come back, and then perhaps you've lost an ally. But I wouldn't mind exploring that idea of why can't we say no? And what might saying no do to the advances that you've made in your progress? Any takers on that one?
That's a good one.
That's a hard one, yeah.
This is related to the saying no, but there was a particular project last year where I had to give myself permission to let the team, not my team, but the team that wanted our help, to let them fail. And to demonstrate that this was their responsibility. And if they didn't have the resource, if they didn't find the resources, we couldn't keep doing it for them.
Mhm.
And it was so hard in the short term to know that it was going to go badly. But now, like a year and a half later, it made waves and it got them more resources, and it ended up fixing some of the underlying problems. But it was so hard at the time.
That's really important. So I worked at a bank too, and my leaders would sometimes say, you don't own this. Let them fail. And it's very, very, very difficult to let the team fail. I always thought if they fail, it means we've lost another opportunity to put accessibility in, and then start looking, well, maybe our team could have done something else. But sometimes you just can't, like there aren't that many hours in a day. And did it have a lasting impact of letting them fail? Positive, negative?
So there was a short-term impact of needing to throw a lot of money at a contractor vendor to do it for us, which cost a lot of money in that 1 year. And that then led to being able to make the business case the following year for standing up a process. And the team that stood up the process and got the training and got the software ended up creating such a good process that there now is sort of like a little in-house agency, centralized consulting, and they're now taking it on for a lot of other teams because they have the skill and the resources, and they now have the bragging rights. So we found someone that was then willing to step up and be an ally. And now there's like another team that's picked a piece of the puzzle and they're handling it for us. So we ended up in a really good place, but there were dark days getting it.
Anxiety.
Yeah, there was anxiety, yes.
So so many experiences are very common to mine. And could we be considering that progress in accessibility and a success that your team, they did that, they advanced that. And it was a strategy that we tend to not use in accessibility. We want to help. It's a helping profession. And, is that what is actually leading us to burn ourselves out? It's not easy to say no, especially in a climate where job security is at risk, and that you will just keep taking on more just to keep the job. One of the other things that I learned is I got to go to women in leadership courses. And one of the things that stuck out to me is that they said that in general, women just expect that good work will be noticed. But I think that that's a generalized thing. We expect that our good work will be noticed. We expect, especially in accessibility, that someone will appreciate what we're doing, but we're not good at talking about it and telling people, and being visible in the work that we're doing. And I recognize that that's a challenge in your world right now, but even if you can surface it in business terms with your leaders, talk about what you do, report about what you do, report about on the small accomplishments and the impacts. Amy, what's some of the thoughts or implications around saying, no, I'm too busy to take that on right now?
I guess it's scary because, especially with feeling as precarious as I do because of my last several months, I'm afraid that people are going to think that I'm just skiving off, for lack of a better term, because I've been pretty out of the loop. I am afraid that an actual no could jeopardize my position. And that's scary.
Yep. Peter? Yeah.
Thank you. I think the flip side of being able to say no is, and Amy really addressed it, is her need to say, or the need to say, I need help. I can't do this without X accommodation that's in the law. And the results, response is just as likely to be the negative you get from saying no as you get from saying I'd like some help. I need some help. You expect me to do my job, but you're not giving me the tools I need. And it's not just you, team leader or manager. It's the company. It's HR. It's leadership. It's and the idea that you can find someone to replace me is a very real one, except it won't be me. There's a lot of fear in seeking help for what you should be able to do simply. Which is not to say that the people around you who may not need the accessibility tools that you use are still having enormous trouble with the technology that they face.
Yes.
Technology, it's the nature of technology and web design and interfaces. And maybe appealing to that and say, you think you're having trouble. What about in this scenario?
Right. Miranda?
And the way that you phrased that is leadership has asked me to do this pile of stuff. And in order to get this pile of stuff done, I need more people. And then leadership says, no, I can't get you any more people. The next step of that conversation is, okay, here's the pile of things you've given me. I think I'm going to work on this half of the pile. And this is what's going to get done because it's just me or it's just my little team. That was another win that I've had over the past couple of years, was saying, I can't do, my team can't do everything. So we ended up picking our 14 most important partners, and we do a good job with them, which makes us happier. We're not spread across so many projects. Individuals are able to focus a little more. So one person can say, I worked on this project and I did a good job. And another could say, I worked on that project, instead of, the 8 things and you can't even remember anymore what you did. But that we had to admit that left another group of people without support. And it was just where leadership was for the moment.
Yeah. Metrics is hard to figure out, like how much time is a person or a team spending on a particular project. Sometimes reporting takes as long as doing the work yourself. And so ideally, we should be able to find some metrics to describe in a simple way how much time we're spending on a project. And then when you start adding it up and seeing that the work that you're doing is 60 hours in a week where you're only being paid and have time for 37, then that really helps, that qualitative information about how much time your work takes. And part of that is also being able to set expectations with your partners. What expectations do they have of you and your team and what they do? And I know when we were starting our accessibility program, we would say yes to everything. It didn't matter if it was strategic. It didn't matter if it was big or small, because we were building that momentum. And as the teams got bigger, we thought we have to start telling people what our team will. Peter, this came up the other day. What will we not do anymore? That what came out of a session yesterday. What will we not do anymore? And so when we started thinking about that, top of the list for my team of accessibility consultants and professionals was, we will not test your application for you. And then, we had to think, well, sometimes we have to help people out just to get over the hump, but this isn't our primary responsibility. And teams would come and say, well, I thought you were going to test it. And it dawned on me that we didn't set those expectations for the team. So what is our service? If you have and we broke it down that some was light touch, medium touch, heavy touch. And the light touch, you had to really, when you were going through your job tasks in the day, saying, can we help them out? Let's prioritize that work. It's light touch. We know what the answers are. It's going to have an impact. Yes, we're going to go ahead with that. Heavy touch, integration. Then we had to have bigger conversations in our team and with the teams that we were working with, and had to make some hard decisions as to whether we were going to take it on at all. So that's another strategy that we tried to preserve ourselves from that endless demand. Do you see, and nobody's online?
No, there's
Still online?
folks are still online, and I am keeping an eye on the
Thank
chat.
you.
So if folks online, raise your hand if you would like to talk up. But also I'm keeping an eye on the chat, and if you don't want to talk but want to write, I will speak for you. Since we lost our tech person, could you sit there and monitor the chat? That'd be really helpful. Because then I could put this down. Yes.
So I thought I had come into this session. I was misremembering room numbers. And I was in another session that was the one about expanding, expanding, adding new accessibility professionals. But the discussion was much the same. People complaining about how they couldn't be heard and couldn't get help and couldn't get assistance, and how that led into. And then I realized, no, this is the wrong room, but they're talking about the same thing, but I came here.
Oh, oh dear. So yeah, we might have had a richer conversation altogether. Yeah.
I don't know if everybody that's in this session was in this morning's panel before lunch. So I thought I would also repeat something that Crystal from Salesforce said, where it sounds like she's been doing this for a good number of years, and that there's a middle ground on that, which is to burn out and then take a break. And ideally, we would all catch ourselves before we burn out, but that the next best thing is to recognize when you've gotten into that state and take some time off, see if you can get some time where your workload is lighter, get yourself, it's, again, it's the your own oxygen mask theory that take care of yourself and then you'll be able to help the others better. And then do recognize when you are burned out and take the time you need to heal before you dig back in again.
Yes. Take your vacations.
Yes.
Don't bring your work with you. Yeah, really, really important self-care. And as a team, so if you're lucky, you have a team of people working on accessibility with you. How might we, what strategies or ideas do we have as for teams to refresh themselves, to acknowledge where you're at, but take the time, deliberate time to refresh?
I would say go to conferences like this, except I have trouble getting budget for more.
Right?
Like one person a year, so not so much for us. If we were local, we'd have a better chance.
Go to meetups. Are there meetups in your neighborhood, in your area? There's meetups in a lot of the big cities. But even as a team, do something fun. We had in one of our sessions, Corb was talking about how we have to make accessibility more fun. We're a very intense group, and for a good reason. But that can also be a bit of our Achilles heel.
That does depend some on the team makeup. I will say that accessibility does frequently tend to get highly analytical people that are very good at QA testing. And so if you don't have enough balance of I would say catalysts,
Yes.
it can be hard to encourage people to have fun. Yes.
Yes.
Are you raising your hand or just, yeah.
I want to ask the flipped question a little bit, because in a lot of ways, I am neither fish nor fowl in my company. I'm not officially part of the accessibility team. I tag on to everything they're doing as often as I can. I was part of a testing team. I'm part of a testing team again, but it is all focused on automation, and very seldom do we have anything to do with each other. And I work from home in an office that is quite far away from the main campuses of our organization. So if you're the sole standout, any thoughts on keeping yourself, or not even standout, but because there is an accessibility team, I'm just not really a part of it. I am as much as I can be, but if you're fighting upstream alone, how do you keep fighting?
Yeah, and the simple answer is find community, but that's simplistic. Yeah, especially if you're remote. I do think these conferences are, I mean, I'm retired. I don't work in accessibility right now, and this fills me up.
Yeah.
Another answer, just
Peter has a comment he'd like to make.
Amy, I haven't been able to work in a company because I always swim upstream, and I'm not proud of that, or not proud of that. That's just how I came. And I think that when I heard you say you're not part of the accessibility team, I thought, wouldn't it be nice if there was no accessibility team because everybody knew their job involved accessibility and just made it part of what digital people did, which is not at all an answer. But it is someone else raised that idea at one of the flipped classroom sessions, and that is the ideal to, and if everyone understood it, then as part of the job of being in technology, of being a technologist, then that would solve the other problems, the social problem of why do you need it? Why do we have to deal with this accessibility, disability thing? Because it is everyone's issue, and it's just also part of being a technologist that you know this. And one thing I haven't heard at this conference, either because I haven't been on the right session or it hasn't been discussed, I don't know which, as much about how in higher education, in around computer science and development, et cetera, it's just not required. Or am I wrong? Is it required? It's just not. And how can that be changed? And how can we, in the middle of all the other stuff we're doing, work to change that? And it's astonishing that it's not. So just to add to all the troubles.
Yes, and I think we have to talk about all the troubles, and there's that real balance between dwelling in them and mired in them, and being able to say, we have to acknowledge all these things and find a way out. I was just thinking, I was trying to think of something else you said, Miranda. No sense of progress, no sense of being done. Hard to find your successes. Levers. What levers can we pull in our organization so that it's not as onerous? on the accessibility team? Is it structural? You know, are we organized correctly? Do we have the right operating model for advancing accessibility in an organization, or are we setting ourselves up for fatigue? Are they finishing up the other sessions? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, and your talk about levers, I've been, Amy, thinking about your comment about how you're not part of the accessibility team. You could lean on them to find out like what your team should be doing that they're not, which would help give you levers to push more on the team. Like, is there any kind of policy, governance, procedure, rules that your team should be following that you're not? And so that your accessibility team can help give you some small hammers to hit the other people on your team is not a good analogy, but ways that you can poke them into being better allies for you. Which gets back into, and the levers thing also gets back into public shaming. It needs to be used very carefully. Probably a better way of phrasing that is public praising the allies. And so talking up the people that are doing a good job, which then under talks the other people by absence. Did you have? Yeah.
My suggestion for people who don't have an accessibility team at their company, usually there's a legal person or an internal legal team or someone on the finance team who has a degree or went to law school that might focus on product or IP, and you can try to make friends with that person.
Yeah.
They were a good advocate for me, and a good partner to bring in, even though they were overwhelmed with other things. Always happy to help the person I found at a company I used to work with. So that's another suggestion, sort of a weirder way, if there isn't any established accessibility team. And sometimes if there's like an internal group like ERG of veterans or of families, sometimes they're really excited allies who work all over the company in like different ways, sales or marketing, who are interested in building that interest can really help. Just random projects or people to connect with that you'd be unexpected and wouldn't think are interested. They sometimes really are.
Yeah. Yeah. I found that happen a lot. Make new friends out of places that you normally don't hang out.
Which segues into one of the points I like to make. So I mentioned that I did user research, usability testing for many years before switching into accessibility. And I took that program and built it from one, I'm not part of it anymore, but it's now about 16 people. And I'm trying to do the same with our accessibility team. And in both, we've taken the same approach. Work with the people that want to work with you and find the people that are ready to dig in and get started and be allies. And it could be a whole product team. It could be just an agile team. It could be just a few individuals. In my world, it's, you know, that designer or that developer that has their own disability, that has a friend with a disability or a relative that has a high level of empathy. And so I was, Amy, thinking for you of, you know, trying to balance the amount of time that you spend fighting with people that don't want to do accessibility versus trying to find the people that are ready to do it. And if your team isn't ready to do it, would they either like reduce your responsibilities so you can spend more time on it? Or is there another team that's more interested in it, and is there an opportunity to jump to another position in your company?
Yeah, something, just strategies to think. The other thing is that a lot of our work is in service of other people and teams. And there's real value in doing something together as a team. And so instead of always allocating your team's time, if you have that assumes a lot of power and control in the organization, you know, but if you can, then are there projects that you could work on together as a team that are advancing your team's goals and not just advancing the company's goals, or trying to put out fires throughout the rest of the organization. And that can be a way to help prevent burnout as well, because you're working on something together, you're advancing the profession, you're advancing, you know, whatever it might be, the processes that you're putting in place. It's really hard to protect that time, but it's really important to protect that time for completing your own projects.
And that ties back into the work with the people that want to work with you. Because then you're more likely to have pick a project, work on it, finish it. And now you've got an ally that's been through this and has something to brag about, and your successes help make other people want to do the same.
Yeah. So we've been through current state challenges and have some ideas about strategies. Celebrating the wins, learning how to say no, whatever, celebrating other team successes. Oh, community, yeah. But is that enough? Is there something else? Is there something missing? Is there something that perhaps at next year's Access U we could be exploring?
This might be being talked about in the other room that's talking about how to get non-professionals involved in what we do, but more about how you have ally programs or ambassador programs, or like how do you make recognition programs within the company to give people that aren't part of the accessibility team recognition for what they do to help move the cause forward, or for training that they've gotten, you know, a project that they completed. How do you set up sort of an internal reward and PR campaign system?
Yeah, like Intuit has an amazing one, I've heard. So I'm just a facilitator. I'm not deeply immersed in this whole topic, but I wonder whether, I'm sure there are smarter people that work in HR and psychology who could provide some real strategies for avoiding burnout. I'm just on that journey. It's whatever I read or whatever I can do. I managed to get out before I was burnt out. But I think maybe even recognizing some of those signs, inability to make decisions, not being able to turn your brain off at night, taking on more work. Those are all some signs that it's getting a little bit too much. And how do you have the conversation with your leaders about the capabilities of your team and yourself and what you can actually take on in a way that resonates with your leaders? And sometimes it's personal, but I'm in business, they just want to know outcomes. And how do you have those conversations? Okay. Lori, can you unmute yourself?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hi. I was just gonna say, I've been taking notes and I love the idea about the 5 awesome things, that you mentioned earlier. But along the lines of Accessibility Champions program, we had tried an Accessibility Champions program about a year ago, and it really didn't get the engagement that we were looking for. So we stopped doing it, and then we kind of reinvented it into these smaller cohorts focused on a specific role, like right now we're just focusing on the developer role. And we really have it's like an 8-week program, and they get points for engagement. Like every time they, say something or bring up something in the Slack channel, they get a point. They get a point for taking our developer training. And I just wanted to share that we've seen such a higher amount of engagement through this smaller, more focused Accessibility Champions program. And I was like, I think that can count toward the 5 awesome things that we're doing, because it's
Yes.
really been so exciting to see the 8 champions really be engaged. And it's like kind of spreading and they're going to be able to go out and spread accessibility, in their areas where we might not be privy to. So I think the idea of an Accessibility Champions program could really help you, um, you know, find the positive things. So I just wanted to mention that, like, if you have an opportunity to create a champions program, it has really helped us feel like we're doing something at DocuSign.
Yeah, that's great, because then it's not always you talking, right? That's the
Right.
best part, is when other people are talking.
Yeah, and you can imagine the impact, like developer champions can have on their own team. Like they're going to be talking to other developers that speak their language, and they might even have a bigger impact than the accessibility engineers from the accessibility team, because they already have a rapport with their teammates and connections there.
You remind me of 2 things that we did that are along those lines, and one was on GAD, which I think we're celebrating today, GAD Day. We had a panel with a designer, an engineer, a user experience researcher, anybody that was involved in accessibility, and it was their conversation. And we started it with, is this hard? And people talked about what was hard for them. And then all of a sudden it like broke the ice of the fear of, yeah, this is hard, but then, how did it become easier, and what did you do, and why do you enjoy it? So that was great. And the other strategy was having in sprint reviews or demos, having accessibility features demoed and just kind of talk about that. So it wasn't our team doing it, but it was the Scrum team themselves.
That's a great idea. I love that idea.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not I think we're done. Are we I don't know how long this runs. Anybody know? Yeah. It's until 3. Okay, well, oh, is it? Okay, so we'll keep going, but when we're done, we're done. We don't have to stay right to the end. Miranda has,
I just had a follow-on question about the champion. Well, there was the champion program that then morphed into the 8-week more concentrated. And my question was, after the 8 weeks were over, like, was it just focused on the 8 weeks that you were participating? Or after that was done, did they get any sort of like badge or certificate or like something they could put in their signature? Like, did it carry forward past that? Or were you just focused on like the 8 weeks and then it was finished?
Yeah, so we did well, first of all, the person we had this point-based scoring system, like the more engaged they are, the more points they got. So then we gave them a gift, and I think the gift was like an accessibility, a book related to accessibility, some something not too big, but something kind of to recognize their effort. But then we also we have a designer that works on the accessibility team, and they made a profile pics that had accessibility champion on, so they in Slack they can use their profile pic with accessibility champion banner. And yeah, so we did we and then there the champions that already made it through the 8-week course, they are expected to kind of participate and engage with the new champions. So we are continuing to involve them, and yeah, we just started this and we just got through our first cohort, so we'll see how it continues to grow or what impact it will have. But so far, it's been really a successful program, and it's really helped us on the accessibility team to feel positivity and feel like excitement.
What company is this?
At DocuSign.
Thank you for sharing that story.
and so I love, do you want to say something, Anna?
That's really awesome. I guess I don't remember what the question was that prompted this discussion, but one idea was if there's internal wikis for people who are just starting, often they explore those, and sometimes just like linking out to guidelines or templates that are accessible for those on just like adding that link to a wiki can really lead them to find like the accessible ally program that you have at your job, or just like making sure that documentation path for people who are exploring is available is a really valuable, because some people aren't that social or maybe just more comfortable searching on their own. And I found like secret allies who found their way to like the accessibility team efforts through just like searching on the wiki for like, where's our accessibility documentation, So yeah, little things can add up.
Yeah. Have we kind of explored this for now? Yeah. I think it's worth having further conversations and related to new people coming in too, because anybody new coming in, somehow, whatever strategies that the group can provide so that they stay in and continue to grow in their careers and have a career path and accessibility. I think that's really the power. We don't want people leaving. So thank you for suggesting the topic, Amy, and hopefully something resonates for everyone. I know it's been great for me. Thank you. And thank you,
Thank you.
Hillary.
Thanks, folks online.
Hey, bye-bye.